In 1967, 46 people drove onto the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and never drove off. The bridge didn't groan. It didn't give any warning. 1 second it was there. The next, it dropped every car on it into the Ohio River in under a minute. Investigators later found the entire structure had been held up by 2 chains of linked steel bars, and a crack smaller than your thumbnail had been growing inside one of those bars for years. Here's the thing. Engineers had inspected that bridge. They filed their reports. Nobody caught it, and that wasn't a fluke. Every bridge on this countdown has the same story underneath it. Someone knew something was wrong. Someone filed a report, and somewhere between that report and the repair, the money ran out, or the politics got complicated, or the bridge just stayed open because closing it was inconvenient. Food. Today we're counting down 10 bridges that have killed the most drivers, and by the time we get to number 1, you're going to think twice about the bridge you cross every single morning without a second thought. Starting with number 10, imagine you're in Senegal, crossing the Faidherbe Bridge over the Senegal River. It's the only crossing for miles. 800,000 people depend on it. The bridge is also 127 years old. That's not a typo. The original iron framework, not steel, iron, has been carrying modern cars and trucks since before your grandparents were born, and iron fails differently than steel does. Steel bends before it breaks. Iron just snaps. No warning, no slow creak, just gone. Locals will tell you the bridge has been marked for closure or major repair multiple times. Political pressure kept it open. The city of St. Louis sits on either side of that river, and if the Faidherbe closes, the city stops. So it stays open. And here's what most drivers crossing it don't realize. The rivets holding those iron sections together are the same technology used to build the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is a tourist attraction that nobody drives on. This is a commuter bridge carrying thousands of vehicles a day. And the maintenance budget has never matched what a century-old iron structure actually needs. That's not even the worst part. This bridge is a preview of a problem that exists on every continent. Moving on. Now picture this. It's monsoon season in Maharashtra, India. The Savitri River is running high, the rain is coming sideways, and you're on the Mahad Bridge because it's the only way through. In 2019, a bus drove onto that bridge, and the bridge simply wasn't there anymore. Not because the bridge broke in front of them, because the riverbed underneath the support columns had been eaten away by floodwater. What the engineers call foundation scour happens underwater, invisible from the road surface, invisible from a standard inspection. The ground under the bridge disappears first. The bridge looks fine right up until it doesn't. 32 people died in that bus and the vehicles around it. What makes this worse? The bridge had been classified as distressed years before it fell. Records show the state had flagged it. The replacement funding got tied up. The bridge stayed open because a distressed bridge is not the same as a closed bridge, legally. And here's the thing that should keep you up at night. Foundation scour is the single leading cause of bridge failure in the world, according to federal engineering data, and it cannot be detected by looking at the bridge. You have to go underwater to find it. Most bridges don't get that inspection. Most drivers have no idea. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Tampa Bay, Florida, 1980. A cargo freighter called the MV Summit Venture hit the main support column in near-zero visibility fog. In seconds, a 200-foot section of the bridge fell. 35 people went into the water. Cars, a truck, a Greyhound bus. The fog was so thick that a police officer at the toll booth on the far side had no idea the bridge behind him was gone until a truck driver pulled up and told him. Here's what changed after Sunshine Skyway. They built a new bridge with protective concrete islands around the support columns, called pier dolphins, designed to deflect ships before they can hit the structure. That sounds like a fix, and it is for that bridge. But the National Transportation Safety Board recommended in 1983 that all major bridges over navigable waterways get that same protection. It was never made federal law. There are more than 4,000 bridges crossing navigable waterways in the United States right now with no ship collision protection. The vessels traveling under them today are 40% heavier than the ships those bridges were designed to account for. You'll want to remember that number when we get to number 1. Fern Hollow Bridge, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, January 28, 2022. That morning, President Biden was scheduled to give a speech in Pittsburgh about American infrastructure. The Fern Hollow Bridge collapsed before he landed. No earthquake, no flood, no ship strike. It had been rated in poor condition for 10 consecutive years. Not structurally deficient, poor. And here's the legal distinction that should make your blood run cold. Poor is not the same as unsafe in the official classification system. A bridge can be in poor condition and stay open indefinitely. Pittsburgh knew. The repair estimate existed. Funding gap was real. Rated poor, year after year, until the morning it just came down. Concrete that's been absorbing water for decades eventually lets rust get into the steel underneath, and the rust expands and shatters the concrete from the inside out. You can sometimes see it happening, the concrete crumbling along the edge, right where your tires would be, little pieces falling away. 7,500 bridges across the United States are currently rated in poor condition. That's according to federal highway data from 2023. They're all still open. 3 bridges now, rapid fire, because the pattern is the same and it crosses every border. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge in Washington State, 1940. This is the one you've probably seen the footage of. The bridge that starts waving like a ribbon in the wind and then tears itself apart. It wasn't the wind speed that killed it. It was the frequency. The bridge started oscillating at its own natural rhythm, and the wind kept feeding it until the whole thing shook itself to pieces. Engineers had never seen that before. Now every long-span bridge in the world gets tested for it. The Morandi Bridge in Genoa, Italy, 2018. 43 people. The private company running it had internal reports showing the cables were corroding. Those reports were leaked after the collapse. The repair had been discussed. The repair cost money. The bridge was still carrying 40,000 vehicles a day when it fell on a Tuesday afternoon. And the Hince Ribeiro Bridge in Portugal, 2001. 59 people died when it collapsed. Illegal sand mining had been happening directly underneath the bridge supports, eating away the riverbed, and local officials knew it was going on. Same story, different river. Someone filed a report. Someone knew. The bridge fell anyway. The Silver Bridge, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, December 15, 1967. Rush hour. The whole structure was supported by 2 chains of linked steel bars running the length of the bridge. 2 chains, not dozens of cables, not a web of supports. 2 chains. If one link failed, everything went. A stress crack had been growing inside one of those links for years, invisible from the surface, invisible from inspection, smaller than your thumbnail. When it finally gave out, 46 vehicles went into the Ohio River in less than a minute. 46 people died. And what came out of that disaster, the thing that actually changed the way the United States deals with bridges, was the National Bridge Inspection Standards of 1968. The law that says every bridge in the country must be physically inspected every 2 years. That law exists because 46 people died. Here's what that law doesn't cover. It tells you when to look. It doesn't tell you what to do about what you find. It doesn't give anyone the money to fix it. It just requires that someone look, write it down, and file the report. Which brings us to number 1, Baltimore, Maryland. March 26, 2024. The container ship Dolly lost power in the Patapsco River in the early morning hours and drifted directly into the main support column of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The bridge fell in seconds. 6 construction workers who had been filling potholes on the bridge deck went into the river. None of them survived. The Key Bridge had no protective barriers around its support columns. The same pier dolphins the NTSB had recommended after the Sunshine Skyway disaster 42 years earlier. Records show that Maryland transportation officials had conducted a risk assessment of the Key Bridge as far back as 2008, noting that modern container ships had grown significantly larger than what the bridge's supports were designed to withstand. The assessment existed. The upgrade did not happen. The bridge stayed open. And here's the thing that makes this the number 1 entry on this list. Not just the death toll, not just the collapse, but the timing. 42 years had passed since the exact same failure mode killed 35 people in Tampa Bay. 42 years of larger ships, heavier loads, and the same unprotected columns. The American Society of Civil Engineers currently gives the nation's bridges a C+ rating. There are 43,000 bridges in the United States classified as structurally deficient right now. The repair backlog is estimated at $125 billion. The bridge you cross tomorrow was last inspected on a date, printed on a form that no one has ever asked you to look at.